Well, some emotional moments in court as the family of a young woman who was shot over the weekend spoke to the man accused of killing her.
The Simpsonville Police Department says Akevius Dayquan Lindsey shot and killed Genesys Rice. Officers were called to Jasmine Cove apartment Sunday morning where they found Genesys dead on her bed. The coroner says she was shot in the head. Now, Lindsey appeared in court this afternoon for an initial bond hearing. Genesys's parents spoke directly to him. They said Lindsey and their daughter shared a child together. Her father said his faith is carrying him through this time.
I pray that you get justice where justice is due. Think about Genesis. Think about the council said that we shouldn't even go in there because how brutal what happened to Genesis.
The judge denied Lindsey bond. He'll stay in the Greenville County Detention Center. A court record show Lindsey pleaded guilty to domestic violence charge out of Lawrence County for beating and strangling a woman who was 6 months pregnant. That was last October, not too long ago. Lindsey was given 2 years probation in January. Now, we reached out to learn more details about the plea, but we'll update you when we get that information.